Hey guys, welcome back to another episode in the Market Gardening Monthly series. In today's video we've got several tasks planned. I am going to show you the process that we follow to go from harvest to the walk-in cooler with a lettuce crop. I'm going to show you how we install a simple trellis support system for our peppers and eggplants in the high tunnel. And I'm going to show you our process of weeding the beds. Lots of work to get done, so let's get into it. Harvesting lettuces is a pretty straightforward process. For this task I use a sharp knife. With the no-dig approach we take to market gardening, we cut the roots of the crop at about ground level and keep the below surface roots in the ground to decompose. This will cause them to rot in the soil, providing a source of food for the soil food web, whilst newly planted crops will take over the root space and will benefit from this process. When doing this, you've got to make sure you cut the main root stem low enough, otherwise it can still have enough energy left to resprout, which occasionally happens. The way I harvest lettuce is I stand above the beds and bend over to cut the individual lettuces, whilst keeping my back straight. At this point, I cut all the crops I need first and then place them into the harvest bins. Before collecting the lettuces, I have a quick look at the bottom of the lettuce to look for any bruised, damaged or wilted leaves and make sure to remove them before placing them in my harvest bins. Once the harvest is done, we bring the crops to the post-harvest station for further processing. One key thing to remember and always do is noting down exactly what you've harvested, where you've harvested the crops from, the quantity, dates and several other important pieces of information. In fact, on our farm we've got a little spreadsheet we call the Outdoor Production Journal. In this journal we've got sheets for all the different outdoor tasks that we do. We've got a nursery journal, a direct seed journal, a harvest and transplant journal, and within these sheets we collect all the information coming from the farm. The days to maturity of crops during different times of the year, the yields we get, the time it takes to perform certain tasks, and a whole bunch of other information that is crucial to track so that you can continuously optimize your production systems and become more profitable in the process. Lettuce being a leafy type vegetable, it is really important to take off any field heat and reduce that temperature to slow down their metabolism. We do this by submerging the lettuce into a cold water bath. When doing this, you've got to watch out not to break any of the leaves. Lettuces are pretty fragile, so extra care must be taken. I grab a head of lettuce, I hold it firmly and submerge them under water. A swift movement allows for most of the dirt to be washed off. In some cases, an additional spray with a hose is necessary to clean it further. When dipping your lettuce heads under water, they'll inevitably become full of water, so it's important to let them drip out for a while before you place them into the storage bins and into the cooler. I also like to give them a little shake before placing them onto the grill for dripping out. Once I've cleaned them all, I either package them into their final packaging or simply place them in the cooler until all other tasks have been done. That's the simple process we follow to go from harvest to the cool room with lettuces. Now let me show you how we install the trellis support system for our peppers and eggplants. Unlike with tomatoes and cucumbers, which we train onto a single wire that's suspended from the top of the high tunnel, peppers and eggplants require a different type of setup. Although we don't necessarily have to trellis the plants, they do require some support to help them with their heavy loads of fruits. We do this by including a stake for every 5 plants. From these stakes we attach strings on either side of the plants to support them as they grow. Very simple but very effective. As the plants grow taller, we continue to support the plants by including new strings every 10 inches or 25 centimeters or so until we've reached the top of the stakes. Now let's talk about weeding. Weeding is really a task many people struggle with and enjoy the least for good reason. Who wants to sit on their knees for hours and pull weeds, right? Fortunately, if following the approach of smothering out the existing vegetation with a thick initial layer of compost when you're just starting out, weeding can be kept to a minimum. With the thick initial layer of compost on the beds and cardboard and wood chips in the pathways, we are essentially smothering out any existing weeds below this layer, depriving them from sunlight, allowing for a complete weed-free area. This approach to annual vegetable production makes literally all the difference in the weed management systems of the farm. We don't have to rely on tarps, we don't have to use flame weeders, and we barely have to use precision weeders. It's not like we don't have weeds at all, since we'll still be getting weed seeds flying in from neighboring properties. On our farm it is mainly dandelion seeds that tend to germinate on the edges of our beds where the beds meet the pathways. To remedy this problem, we use an oscillating hoe which is able to quickly take care of this. On the beds themselves, where we grow our crops, we don't have that much of a weed pressure. In fact, we only do the weeding of our beds at every crop transition and maybe 3 or 4 times per year when we walk around each plot with a bucket and simply take off any weeds that we see. That's really one of the biggest benefits of the no-dig approach to market gardening. We don't spend much time weeding at all, which means that we have more time that we can dedicate to other tasks, ultimately making the farm more profitable. Every minute that you are weeding is basically a minute lost that you could use for other tasks that actually put revenue in your pocket. Therefore, it is important to get your growing beds right from the beginning and never let weeds get established in the first place. If for whatever reason you've overlooked a weed and it went into seed, which can happen, make sure to keep a good eye out on that particular area so that any newly germinated weeds will be taken care of immediately. One other little thing to think about is the borders and perimeters of your plots. These are some of the places that can pose problems with creeping grasses coming into your beds. For this purpose, we've laid out a landscape fabric around the entire perimeter and covered it up with wood chips. This makes sure that we never have any creeping weeds coming into our beds, which allows for much easier management. All in all, a good weed management system is all about prevention. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to learn more about market gardening, head over to thedutchfarmer.com. And as last, have a nice day and see you in the next video.